It's time for another edition of Out and About with Jamie Grout, and this time around we'll be talking with Bruce Showalter of the Newton Housing Development Corporation, and a lot of focus has been done, especially since Maytag left town several years ago, in the development of housing in Newton, and Bruce will be talking about that in just a couple of moments. But first, a word from our sponsors, including Ryan's Tire and Auto on First Avenue, Newton. If you haven't been to Ryan's for oil change or to have your tires looked at or auto maintenance, hey, you should stop in and talk to Ryan, because I was there the other day and I need some wheel balancing taken care of because the front end of my car was vibrating pretty bad, going from point A to point B and back in Des Moines, and boy, they took care of it and did a great job. Plus, he's a big guy involved in community involvement. Just donated something like $3,000 for baseball team uniforms for Little League, and I'm telling you, he's a fantastic guy. Stop on in and say hi to Ryan and the gang at Ryan's Tire and Auto on First Avenue in Newton. Also by Newton Clinic. Boy, I know a lot of people that are wheezing, sneezing, and sniffling, and if spring allergies got you down, Newton Clinic is here to help you find relief. If you have sneezing, congestion, and itchy eyes, give the Newton Clinic a call or text them at 641-792-2112 to schedule an appointment and start breathing easier today. And also by the fine folks at Mercy One Newton. They have their big gala coming up on Saturday, April 26th at the DMAC Conference Center. I'll be the auctioneer for their Conference Center Gala, and you're invited to come on out. That's at 600 North 2nd Avenue West. The social time and silent auction get underway at 5:30. The dessert auction and dinner at 7 p.m. and the live auction at 8:30. And the one and only Mark Allen will be the MC for that. They have all kinds of great things that'll be auctioned off, including a autographed football that I'll tell you, it's a fantastic thing, and it's valued at $500 from the one and only Terry Bradshaw, who you might remember as a famous quarterback from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and of course Fox commentator who was on TV and continues to be on TV from time to time. And it is really quite a valuable item. Plus, they have all kinds of interesting things that'll be auctioned off, and they will be trying to raise funds to refurbish the ER at Mercy One Newton. Time for another Out and About with Jamie Grout, and this time around we're talking with Bruce Showalter of the Housing Development Corporation in Newton. And Bruce, I know just enough about the Housing Development Corporation, I think, to be dangerous. I've spoken to Mayor Evelyn George and to Craig Armstrong a little bit about this, and I'm going to turn to you about the history of the Housing Development Corporation. I know that years ago when Maytag left Newton, there was some kind of committee that was formed and figured out that Newton needed housing. And maybe you can expound on that and how the Housing Development Corporation was formed.
Well, technically, Newton Housing Development Corporation was a committee created by the mayor in 1990. I can't remember who was mayor then, but 1990, and we were a nonprofit, strict all volunteer, had no funds or any leadership or anything.
And that was long before Maytag left town.
Right, and then so we were existed, but we were more of an advisory board. We weren't really involved with like sales of houses and lots and things like that. But then in about 20 after Maytag left, and then there was the national housing crisis that kind of hit our area in about 2010. They did a housing study, and the housing study said that basically Newton was dying. That the age was getting older and people were dying fast, and the younger families were moving because of the loss of jobs, and so we were losing population. And one of the things they suggested in that housing study was to reactivate Newton Housing Development Corporation. So at that time, then we started getting some funds from the city, and we hired a part-time director, and it all kind of kicked in. I was on that committee from like 1994. I was a realtor, and I got on that committee, and so I've been on that committee since about 1994.
And maybe you can tell me about some of your early goals, what you wanted to do, and how you could get more housing going in Newton, Iowa.
we worked with DMAC, and they had a buildings and trade program, and they basically remodeled some houses, and we worked with them. We also worked on with the city on the abatement programs and advice on that kind of stuff. At one time, we had an opportunity to get some land that we turned around and sold to Newton National Bank's building development subgroup that they had, and they built like 5 or 6 houses in the southeast at that time. But we were basically kind of more just involved with trying to make sure, oversee the housing and stuff, and make sure that things were happening. And if there was issues, then we would step in and advise. But
okay, and so let's forward a little bit to when Maytag left town. Did the situation for housing become more dire at that time?
Well, yeah, like I said, we had that housing study done, and then basically they said we were dying. So at that time, the mayor, Mike Hansen, and I believe the city manager's name was Knable at that time. They got together and they approached us to reactivate and to help advise them and set up some kind of a organization or a plan to move housing forward. In 2011, there wasn't any single-family housing starts at all in 2011 in Newton, and so we knew we had to do something. And so that's when we came up with the city came up with the $10,000 home buyer incentive and some other programs to help stimulate housing. And then, like I said, we hired a director to go out and do stuff. And then that's kind of how Newton, we went out and contacted the developer, and that's how the Newton Place Apartments came about, because of some efforts that we were involved in, and partnered with them to get that funded and built. So,
how are those programs going, Bruce?
They're going really well. Over the years, we there's been 134 building permits since the program was funded in 2014. There's been 134 building permits issued, with a value of approximately $34 million worth of new construction. So that's new taxes on the books. And about 50% of those people that have bought those houses are new people to town, and another 50% are people just moving around in town. But the new people, I one time looked it up, and I think Google says that Newton's average household is 2.4 people. So if you have 160 new people move to town, or families move to town, then that's 150 new people population, and then that also opens up the house. The other side of that is the other 50% of the people that are just moving around Newton. That opens up their house or their property that they were living in, which theoretically might be a cheaper property, therefore keeping our affordability down and helping out on those aspects too.
Are a lot of people getting in on that $10,000 offer? And maybe you could explain a little bit about how that works.
Well, actually, the city bonds for that money on a yearly basis. We look and kind of estimate how many new houses are going to be built, and then make sure that there's funds in that. Originally, the original bond was like $3.6 million for a bunch of different housing programs, including the dangerous and dilapidated program. And so the dangerous and dilapidated program is run by the city, and it's very popular. Cleans up neighborhoods and gets new properties built and raises people's the image of the town, which is all good stuff. You don't want rundown houses and things when people come to town to thinking about moving here or moving their business here or something. You want to have it look good. So that's all good and positive. To date, there's been about 120 houses that have closed, and those families have gotten the $10,000 over about 11 years. So
that's good.
Yep.
Well, and I've heard that people tend to think, I think, because of first of all, Maytag leaving town and TPI closing, although they're opening back up now, right, that Newton's population is dwindling. But I understand Newton's population actually is the highest it's been, according to the latest census, ever, right?
Yes, the 2020 census, Newton's population was the highest it's ever been. Now, not by, maybe 100 people or something, but but when you consider after Maytag left, the population dropped about 500 people. So we made up those 500 people plus added another 100 or so people in about a 10-year period, which to me shows that we are kind of recovered and things are going good. So
That's great.
yeah.
Well, you've lived in Newton for a long time. Lifelong resident, Bruce?
No, I moved here and I was in sixth grade in
Okay.
1962. So you can do the math on that one. but,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, when you talk to people about coming to Newton, Iowa, what are the positive aspects of living here? How do you sell people on good old Newton, Iowa 50208?
Well, Newton is we say Newton is a small town with a big town feel. We have the amenities and things. We try to have the amenities and things that make it comfortable to live here, make it fun to live here. Good parks, good schools, good hospital, all those things. And actually, if you go to the census and check and you ask why people move, about 41% of the people move for quality of life issues. Mm-hmm. They want a better house, a better neighborhood, a better school, better, and only about 16% of them is jobs. And the rest of it's all family related, like, empty nesters, moving to a smaller house, that kind of stuff. So, we promote Newton to get people to come here. We say that we're only 30 minutes away from downtown Des Moines. My wife can drive from our house to Prairie Meadows in 20 minutes. She might speed a little, I don't know, but she that so we it's not and shopping and stuff and entertainment and stuff in Des Moines. If you can't find it in Newton, it's close by and easy driving. So that's kind of what we push. We push the small town feel and safe community, good schools and lots of things to do, like at the YMCA and those kind of things.
Well, I know that it takes me only about 30 minutes to get to my job in Des Moines, so it's pretty easy in the morning to get from point A to point B and then back again, so that's pretty nice. Now, as far as housing is concerned in Newton, are there certain areas of town that the Housing Development Corporation is trying to develop?
Well, we work on housing anywhere in Newton, whatever we can do to help. But we have partnered with the city to develop the Arbor Estates area up in northeast Newton between Berg School and Agnes Patterson Park and kind of around where Cardinal Pond is. We own, we bought 70 acres there and we're in phase 2 now. We built 30 lots. Those are all sold as of yesterday, yesterday. All those lots are sold, and we'll have houses built on them, started on them all this year. And then we have Arbor Estates 2 that we opened up like November, and we have that's 28 lots, and we have only 12 of those lots unspoken for. So, and then we're developing. We're working with Dan Kunkel. Kunkel Construction to build some twin homes up there, duplexes, and which is something that we think that we need more of, and that he's had a lot of calls about that and people interested in moving into that with an HOA to help with the mowing and the shoveling and that kind of stuff. So, but.
Are there still dilapidated homes in Newton that you're trying to get rid of and rebuild? Because I know that you did that several years ago. You kind of brought that up earlier with several duplexes that are up in Newton.
The city of Newton, with their dangerous and dilapidated program and their grant programs, they report that they have touched over 200 houses. Some they've tore down, some they have worked with people to remodel and flip, and there's constantly new issues with people and their housing and stuff. But we've had a good hit on those. Actually, I think Newton probably looks better now than it has in 50 years with the new roofs and stuff because of the hailstorm and a lot of that kind of stuff that happened, and derecho. I think that Newton right now if you just drive around and look at the neighborhoods, they look a lot better than they did 10 years ago or whatever. So, yeah, but there's always going to be some properties that need attention, and the city continues to buy them and turn them over, and they're redeveloped, or new housing is built on those lots. That can be. A few of them are so small that they really can't be, so where they sell them to the neighbors. But it all that is beautification. All that makes this town look better. All that makes it more attractive for, like I said, businesses people coming to looking for businesses, or people to move their business here, or people coming to live here. It's just it just beautifies our town. So.
Now, my dad, I don't know if you knew this or not, was a realtor in Newton for many years. Yes. And now back in those days, there was the Dean Ski Edition, which is out by Berg. Mm-hmm. And I lived there. Yeah, okay. And sometimes builders would build spec homes. Now, do builders still build spec homes, Bruce?
Yes, actually, right now there are 11 houses under construction in Newton right now. And only 3 of those are custom homes. So there are 8 spec homes under construction right now.
Maybe you could explain what that is.
A spec home is the builder is building it with anticipation of selling it. He doesn't have a buyer when he starts the construction. He's just speculating that this house is going to sell. And a custom home is somebody hires a builder to build them a specific house on a specific lot. And but right now there's 3 in Arbor Estates that are spec homes, and the other 11 houses that are in Arbor Estates and elsewhere in town are all spec homes.
Okay, and I know you're trying to develop out at Arbor Estates. I'm going to ask about some other areas around Newton too that maybe you're not trying to push, but I think that they're trying to build. How about the old country club area out there?
Well, the city bought some land and built those houses that are out there and put the access road in. Cardinal Ridge is the name of that. And the rest of the old country club is owned by an individual who is trying to sell it. He doesn't want to develop it himself. He's trying to sell the land to somebody else that will develop it. So hopefully at some point in time that'll happen. And that would be a great location. I think, it's on the other side of town from Arbor Estates, so closer to the interstate, closer to Des Moines, and just a nice rolling hills and a nice place to build. So I think that's good. Down the Fountain Hills is another subdivision that's down behind Hardee's, kind of down in that area, 22nd Street. So basically everything that can be built in Cardinal Ridge is built. And in Fountain Hills, there are still some lots down there that can be built on. Problem is topography. It's a real steep area. The backyards would be real steep. And right now, the city owns those, and they're trying to sell those lots and just build houses on them. And I know there's a couple of people over the last year or so that have looked at that and are interested in possibly doing that, but they just haven't pulled the trigger yet.
So when people call you up and talk to you, Bruce, about the Newton Housing Development Corporation, what are some of the first questions they ask you?
Well, talking with people that are hiring people, like maybe people for the Newton Clinic or the hospital or those kind of people, the questions they ask are housing, schools, and childcare. Those are the 3 basic issues that they want to talk about. The town itself, like crime and parks and all that kind of stuff, is all part of that conversation. But they want to know where the houses are, and they want to look at those and price range and things. They want to know about daycare. Because a lot of them are younger families and have kids, and probably both parents work, and they'll need daycare, and then the quality of the schools. So those are the big things. We promote that Arbor Estates, because we own those lots. We promote that it's like on the hike and bike trail. It's right next to Agnes Patterson Park. It's within walking distance. All that. It's in walking distance to Berg School. easy access out to the interstate and past Walmart out that way. So those are, we just say it's a very convenient place to live. And if you go out there, we had an open house there last year with a couple of houses were ready to sell. And it was amazing how many young families and young kids are in that neighborhood out there. So it was kind of good to see. At my age, I'm a little older, and I live in the Southwest, and most of my neighbors are my age or close, and not so many little kids, and it was really good to see all the young families and younger kids out there. So.
Yeah, it is. And if you're listening outside of Newton too, and we have people listening not only all over the state, all over the country, all over the world listening to this podcast, but as Bruce said, it's a nice hiking, biking trail. It is absolutely wonderful place to check out, and it's over by the Arboretum also, and it's beautiful out there. There's a fundraiser going on out there this weekend. People get married out there. There's all kinds of gatherings out there at that Arboretum, so great place to raise a family. So check it out. And so as we get ready to wrap up this podcast, Bruce, if people want to contact you, find out about housing, find out about quality of life in Newton, Iowa, how can they contact you?
My email address is NHDC, it stands for Newton Housing Development Corporation, NHDC Director @gmail.com. And my phone number is 631.
Give that to us again.
641-521-6031 is my phone number. Just give me a call, and if I don't have the answer, I've lived here a long time, and I've been involved with a lot of stuff in the community, and so I know a lot of what's going on, but if I don't have the answer, I can find somebody that can give you the answer, or direct you in the right direction. So just give us a call. We'd love to have people moving to town. We'd love to have new houses built, so and we're trying to do whatever we can to make that happen.
All right, our interview guest has been Bruce Showalter of the Newton Housing Development Corporation on Out and About with Jamie Grout. This podcast also sponsored by Willowbrook on the Park Center campus. Make your loved one's day by enrolling them in Willowbrook, a Wesley Life adult day center. Willowbrook, as I mentioned, on the Park Center campus, provides a welcoming and stimulating environment that allows participants to maintain independence while receiving support and encouragement. Social engagement, companionship, and enrichment opportunities are provided to give participants a purposeful and fulfilling day. Willowbrook's person-centered care includes exercise focused on total health and well-being, and programming that includes music therapy, pet therapy, guest speakers, outings, and much more. Now, if you'd like to learn more about Willowbrook, call 641-791-4500 to arrange a tour. Also sponsored by Lynette Baker, Halo Branded Solutions, Jersey Freeze in Monroe. If you want an ice cream tasty treat, check out Jersey Freeze in Monroe, giving away those Jersey bucks on Weekend Out and About with Jamie Grout Trivia. Westside Java Coffee Bar, and the folks at Advantage Credit Union.
Is your bank slamming its way through your finances by charging monthly fees? Blow the whistle on those foul-saving rates and bounce into Advantage Credit Union. At ACU, we'll treat you like you own the place, because you do. We offer great rates, fewer fees, and you'll actually earn interest instead of paying a fee. If you live or work in Jasper County or 18 other counties in central Iowa, you're eligible to join. Open your account today in Newton or online at acuiowa.org.
Local money, local decisions, local service, and locally owned by you. Insured by the NCUA.
Until next time, out is out. See ya.